I'm standing in a mop sink in a tiny closet in the police station in Bourne, Massachusetts. The door is closed and there's no light in the closet, so it's pitch black. It's 1993. I'm 22 years old, and I'm about to confess to a crime I didn't commit. I came to this police station 2 weeks ago. A $7,000 deposit disappeared at the McDonald's where I work, and after 3 days of frantic searching, my boss and I determined it was not going to be found. And I was responsible for it, and I accepted responsibility and said I'd pay back what was lost. And she said no. She said it's company policy that you don't pay it back, and it's not the first deposit that's ever gone missing, so don't worry. I'll lose about a year of promotions, but I'm a rising star in the McDonald's managerial career, so she says, you'll be fine. But we have to go to the police station to report the loss for insurance purposes. So that day we go and we meet a police officer. He's a tall guy. He's old. He's got steel gray hair. And I tell him what happened. I say, I brought 3 deposits to the bank and only 2 ended up in the night drop. I don't know where the other one went. And he listens, and then he says, we need to go back so I can ask you some more questions. And my boss jumps in and says, no, we don't think he stole the money. We're just here to report it for insurances. And he says, I understand, but we still need to go out back. And so I go to the back room with him, and I'm in this tiny room with a metal table and chairs. And he pushes a piece of paper across the table. It's my waiver that I need to sign, my Miranda waiver, which means I'm going to be questioned without an attorney, and I'm going to accept that. And I do, because I didn't do anything. And innocent people don't need lawyers. It's what I'm thinking. And so I sign my Miranda rights away, and he starts to question me. And almost immediately, he gets right to drugs. He asks, what drugs do you use and are you selling? And I tell him, I'm not using drugs. In fact, I have never actually used an illegal drug in my entire life. And he does not believe that. And I want him to believe it because it is true. I've been on my own since I was 18 years old, and it has been really hard for me. And I don't have parents and I don't have family. I'm living without a safety net. I feel alone in this world. And I made a decision when I was young that I wasn't going to use drugs because if I had a problem, no one was going to be able to save me. But he doesn't believe me, and I can see it in his eyes. But after an hour, he says, you can go. And as I'm leaving the police station, my boss leans in and says, what the hell was that? And I say, I don't know, but I'm just glad it's over. But it wasn't. 2 weeks later, the police officer calls me again, and he says he needs me for more questions. And so I go to the police station, and I'm back in that little room with the metal table. And now there's another police officer there too. He's a younger guy, and he's smiling when I walk in, and he gives me a cup of Sprite. And I like him right away. He says things like, take your time, Matt, it's fine, think about it. And no, I get that, I understand. And I'm looking at him, I start talking directly to him. I'm like, he's such a good cop. He's not like this bad cop. I'm literally thinking, good cop, bad cop, and it's right over my head, hundreds of hours of, criminal drama, and I'm missing it completely. And they're right back at drugs. And what drugs are you using? Because that's the only way you spent $7,000 in the last 2 weeks. And I'm telling them again and again, and 3 hours of questioning goes by. And then they say, we're going to take a minute. And they leave the room. And when they come back in, they say, we have no more questions for you. We're going to arrest you. You're going to be arrested for grand larceny. And they tell me they have a deal. And the deal is I confess to the crime and I get no jail time. But if I don't confess, they're going to push me all the way, and they're going to push for 5 years in prison. And they tell me I am going to be convicted. And so I decide I'm going to confess. I'm going to confess to a crime I didn't commit. But there's a sticking point because they need me to tell them what I did with the money. And I know what they want me to tell. They want me to say I used it on drugs, and I would if I could, but I don't actually know where to buy drugs. And I don't even know how much drugs cost. So I don't know whether to say I bought a gram of cocaine or 10 pounds of cocaine. I don't even know what drugs look like which ones come in blocks and which ones come in baggies, and whatever lie I make up about drugs is not going to sound right, and they're going to know I'm lying. And so I'm panicking because I can't think of a lie so I can make these people believe that I'm telling the truth when I'm really lying. And so I ask the cops if I can have a minute because I have to think. And I think they're going to leave the room, but they don't. They bring me down a hallway and they put me in a little closet with a mop sink in the floor. And they have me stand in that mop sink and they close the door. And I am in the dark. And I feel more alone than I've ever felt in my life. I think there's 2 people in the world who know I'm in this police station right now, and they're standing on the other side of the door, and they want me in prison. And I'm just standing there trying to think of a way that I spent $7,000 and have nothing to show for it. And I've got nothing. And standing there, I start to think, and I say, God, should I confess to a crime I didn't commit? And I'm not a person who believes in God. I'm one who wants to but can't. But when I say those words out loud and I hear them out loud, I realize how insane it is to say I did this thing. And for the first time in 2 weeks, like, my body fills up with fuck you. Like, this is not going to fucking happen to me. And I push the door open and I look at that steel gray haired man and I say, no, I didn't do it. And I'm not going to say I did. And so they arrest me and they send me to jail. And it is a long 2 years before I'm sitting in a courtroom and I'm found not guilty. But that is not my victory day. My victory happens in that mop sink, in that dark closet, when I call out to a God that I don't really think exists, and he maybe gives me the answer I needed to hear. And somehow I think in that dark space that maybe I'm not alone. Thank you.